Hello, everyone, and welcome to KSO Front Row, the Kamloops Symphony's web series that brings you up close to us right from your very own home or wherever you might be watching this. My name is Daniel Mills, and I'm the Executive Director of the Kamloops Symphony. Of course, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm presently speaking from Kamloops to Secwepemc, within Secwepemcúlecw, the unceded traditional lands of the Secwepemc peoples. We wish to honor the traditional stewards of these beautiful lands and the stewards of all the lands on which we are gathered here tonight on this session, and show respect for their vibrant cultures that live on today. Before I introduce the guests of today's session, I do want to offer a few thank yous. Of course, we want to thank our public funders, the Canada Council for the Arts and Government of Canada, the BC Arts Council and Government of British Columbia, and of course, the City of Kamloops for their continued support. As well, thank you to all our donors, sponsors, and volunteers who have been so generous to our organization. All of you are helping ensure we're here continuing to provide relevant and engaging programming for the community. If you didn't hear, just yesterday we announced our next concert, which is sure to be an exciting departure from our usual programming. We are thrilled to be presenting Iskway and the KSO on Saturday, February 12th in the Sagebrush Theatre. For this evocative performance, we were very excited to collaborate with Cree Métis artist Iskway, and she will be singing her original songs with lush orchestral arrangements performed by our very own orchestra. Iskway has received many accolades, including being nominated for Indigenous Music Album of the Year at the 2018 Junos, and we can't wait to work with her. If you are interested in joining us either in person or online for this evocative, edgy, and emotional experience, please do check out our website for more details. Today's session is meant to be interactive, so if you are watching it live, we welcome you to submit your own questions in the live chat feature on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll try to get to those questions as we go or during the dedicated Q&A session at the end. Thanks again in advance to my colleague Ryan, who's editing this on the go behind the scenes and ensuring it runs so smoothly. Today's session, of course, features three guests. The first, no stranger to you or any of us, is our one and only music director, Dina Gilbert. So welcome, Dina.
Hello, Daniel.
Hi, Dina. How are you doing tonight?
Really well. Yes. How was your birthday yesterday, actually, Daniel?
It was good. Yes, I had a very enjoyable experience. The office was very nice to me, so I had a nice one. And today there are more birthdays, of course. It's the great Mozart's birthday. So
yes.
We're celebrating that a little bit tonight.
And there will be an excerpt. Yes, we'll show something for that. Yes.
All right. I guess we're off to our first of two special guests. Not that Dina, you're not special as well, but for tonight's show. So the first one is none other than our principal Viola, Ashley Kroecher. Before I welcome Ashley to the screen, I just want to share a few highlights about him, of course. So Ashley grew up in North Vancouver, and after completing a Bachelor in General Arts at UBC, he enjoyed 5 intensive years at one of Germany's national conservatories, the Trossingen Musikhochschule. In addition to his orchestral experience with us and the Okanagan Symphony, Ashley is also an active throughout the region as a chamber musician, particularly with the Sycamore String Quartet, which is actually comprised of 4 different Kamloops Symphony musicians, including our other guests on today's show. So in addition to performing and music all about, Ashley also teaches privately out of his home in Kelowna, and Ashley has been our principal viola with the Kamloops Symphony since 2013. Outside of music, Ashley enjoys badminton, gardening, mild adrenaline sports is the way he put it, so I'm curious about that, and reading everything from classics to cartoons. So without further ado, please welcome Ashley. Hello. Hello, Ashley. How are you doing tonight?
We cannot hear you yet.
Again, little technical difficulties. We might not be able to hear him, but we can see him.
Yes, there's something.
Well, we'll try and get to that, and while we're sorting that out, I'll introduce our next other guests as well, and I'm sure we'll figure that out in a moment here. So, our second special guest, who you'll see often in the front row with Ashley in our orchestra, is our principal cello, Martin Kratky. Originally from Hamilton, Ontario, but of Czech descent, Martin has plentiful experience as an orchestral chamber and solo musician. Martin is a graduate of the University of Toronto and the Oberlin Conservatory of Music. And in addition to playing with us, Martin is a core second chair cellist with the Okanagan Symphony. And as alluded to in Ashley's introduction, is also a member of the Sycamore String Quartet. So passionate about education as well as collaborative projects, Martin is a faculty member at our own Kamloops Symphony Music School, as well as the Kelowna Community Music School. And Martin has been our principal cello since 2009. So outside of his musical pursuits, Martin is very engaged with home renovation, meditation, and many other things that we'll hear about tonight. So I'll welcome Martin to the screen.
Oh, thanks so much, Daniel. That's a really lavish intro.
Well, part of my job, the most exciting thing I do on these sessions is introduce our wonderful musicians. So thanks so much for joining us tonight. How are things going today?
Going great.
Good. All right, where else are you calling in from? I guess for all our audience.
Well, you can tell I'm in a music studio, and this is actually my partner Sandra's teaching studio in Kelowna. So this is the Kelowna Community Music School.
Excellent. It's our sister music school in Kelowna, so we're very happy. And for those at home, Martin, as I mentioned, teaches at both schools, so very happy. Well, we'll just see if Ashley is back and running. But
hello.
There he is. Excellent. Perfect. Well, I won't keep any more of your time, and I'll let the three of you get on with tonight's program. But thank you so much, both of you, for joining in tonight, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. So,
thanks, Daniel.
Thanks a lot, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. Happy birthday.
And thanks so much, Ashley and Martin, for joining us for this session. I'm sure people will be delighted to learn way more about you. They see you on stage, they see you perform, they are stunned by your talent, but they will then get a little bit about the human side and also your different hobbies and everything. So it's always a pleasure for me to get into these different topics with you. I already see we have people we know that are joining us and listening at home. There's Daniela Olfi, who's mentioning here that she was finding the amazing video moments at the beginning of the session. And I'm assuming there might be some people watching tonight, maybe Michael Powell, I'm assuming. Happy birthday, Michael, if you're watching us.
I want to make a special shout out to Michael, whose birthday I think was yesterday. And of course, my parents, my sister Louisa, and any students that might be watching. Smith and Kira, I think I know you are tuning in. So thank you so much, and any other students.
Yes, thanks for being there. And speaking of people that you know that are watching, actually, we're going to go directly, maybe in your childhood, you have something in common. I mean, the three of us have something in common. We all got into music because our siblings were also making music. It was something there and really present. Ashley, like you, have been part in different choirs, and I know how transformative it was at a really early age to be singing in different choirs. You'll be discussing about this, playing the piano as well. Martin, playing along also with your parents. Maybe we could have a look at Martin when he was starting at playing the cello.
Yeah, these photos are pretty old school, but it's kind of ironic because in my teaching, I really emphasize good posture, and you can tell.
Then your students are listening right now, so you're
I've been working on that my whole life, good posture. So that's really one of the keys to, well, playing an instrument for sure. But yeah, I believe just being in this world, good posture opens up so much.
And what has been special because for me, we were 6 girls at home playing piano, and of course, then we couldn't play really together unless doing 4 hands. But in your case, you could play then duet with your sister Louisa, I guess. Is she listening tonight?
I think maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
Lou, feel free to put something in the chat. And Louisa teaches violin in Guelph, and she's also a multidisciplinary artist and more creative than me in all that she does.
So we can see in one of the pictures you're smiling. The other one you look really super concentrated on the part. How is it for you to get into the routine of practicing music? I mean, we all went through this. Was it always fun? I mean, and speaking since I know your students are also listening. So how was a student Martin, I guess, in early age doing a practice?
Yeah, the one thing I remember is piano lessons were always going on in my home. And so I really had to negotiate time around that. And also my father would do, for example, night shifts. So he would have to sleep during the day, and we were in quite a small house. So just being, scheduling time to practice was really important. Scheduling.
Okay. So that was really a good skill to have, because in our life as professional musician, we manage with so many different engagements everywhere. So really early on, you had that in mind. And actually, you've been also playing a little bit of piano as well. I think we have a picture. Yes.
Yeah, very poorly. And actually, this is my biggest regret in life, of any regret, that I didn't develop my piano skills. So this was at Christmas time. You can see I'm just playing some carols, or trying to butcher some carols.
So it must have been super wonderful to have so much music all the time at home. Ashley, was it a little bit similar to Martin's experience at home?
There was a lot of music going on in our home. You can see in this picture, my brother is passing on his gift to me. And I did follow in his footsteps, starting the violin when I was 6. I did start piano around the same time. Martin, I also regret not excelling further on the piano. Don't take it too badly, though. There are better things in life than being a pianist. And as you can see, my silliness is in this picture already. Well, definitely in the 3 of us, including my sister, who's 5 years older, wearing, well, to me, it's silly to wear leather shorts to school, but silliness is wonderful, and I think it's people who know me can look past any jokes in poor taste. But Martin, I think you're a fine pianist. In fact, I think I've heard you playing harpsichord, and I did my grade 8 Royal Conservatory on piano, and I think you're a finer keyboardist than me. So there you go.
Oh no, not at all. No,
We're gonna find an occasion in the future so we can hear those other skills for sure. And so, Ashley, then your mother was also playing piano?
Yes, that's right. She accompanied us occasionally, and she was a huge motivational. She's extremely passionate about music, both her and her Italian grandmother, and that's, as the story goes, my brother said, "I want to learn the violin," and before we knew it, our Nona had procured an instrument. I think even, well, anyway, it was wonderful to start at a young age to follow in the footsteps of my brother. And yeah, there you have it.
And having also the singing in different choirs, then you had a big schedule of different kinds of music every week, I guess. Then how many rehearsals with the BC choir per week?
Yes, it was at least 1, often 2 evening rehearsals. And yeah, I remember really enjoying it. I remember "O Come All Ye Faithful" played on the organ in the big cathedral in downtown Vancouver, and I thought, this is the most amazing thing. I'm never going to quit this choir. And sadly, a year later, it was history. I was no longer in the choir, and I, to this day, don't exactly know why. I also remember a big solo with that choir, and I think I nailed it, but maybe I didn't. Anyway, I do remember fainting twice in concerts with the BC Boys Choir. We had to wear these very hot blazers, these blue suit jackets. And to this day, I hate wearing the suit jacket on stage. It's just so hot.
Yeah. Oh my God. I cannot imagine. Poor you. Poor little Ashley fainting in concert. Oh no. But it wasn't before your solo though. So at least your memorable solo was
no,
okay.
But I do remember having to remain in the pews at the front of the church while the rest of the choir went up to the balcony at the back of the church. So that was not exactly a highlight of my childhood.
Mm-hmm. But going into highlights then a little bit later on, I mean, both of you had probably a precious moment in which you redefine a little bit that your career was to become a musician. Ashley, you've been doing, I mean, you had several interests, but then there's one particular decision that changed your life. So what was that decision and where did you go actually?
Well, you're referring to switching to viola and studying music in Germany in one of the national conservatories. Yeah. I did switch to viola when I was 13, and then I kept music at a simmer, and I only did my music degree in my mid-20s. I was fortunate to have the opportunity to go way out on a limb and study on scholarship in Southwest Germany for 5 years, and it was just
Wow.
a really amazing experience.
And for you, Martin, you recall a summer camp which was quite transformative by the talents you've been in contact with?
Yeah, I think that was the pivotal thing. Going to SOCME, it's Southern Ontario Chamber Music Institute. I think starting when I was 15 for 3 summers in a row, and the St. Lawrence String Quartet, as well as former members of the original Orford Quartet were on faculty, and the level of my friends and colleagues there, we were all students, but just blew me away. And hearing these string quartets, that was just what really, I really saw that doing music ennobles you and makes you a better person. And noble is kind of an old school word maybe, but you know what I mean. It's just
nourishing, I guess, enriching.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fulfilling. I don't know. And also, I know that you've been having more and more interest as well, discovering early music. I mean, playing early music in different ensemble and everything, doing chamber concert as well. What was your personal, I guess, affection for that type of music and in our repertoire?
Yeah, it began in Toronto in university, and I think it's a web of a few things coming together. So starting from early music groups have flexibility. They often don't have conductors, no offense at all. They're more democratic in the way they run. So I just was planning out what I would be doing. Did I want to be in a big orchestra? And I saw some teachers that were in the Toronto Symphony, and it's kind of a grind when you're in a big orchestra, or it can become that kind of thing. And the other side of it is the language of gesture and of release. So in a way, I really feel that what I was working on and playing was being relaxed and thinking of resonance. And I always think in these terms. So, you don't have to do early music to benefit a lot from the techniques, from studying this kind of thing. And, you don't have to necessarily, have an instrument with gut strings, although that's another exploration. But I did have two years at Oberlin of kind of immersing myself in that world. And it was really fantastic. I love, as Ashley was mentioning, harpsichords, and another passion of mine is
tuning and harpsichord.
Tuning harpsichords,
yes,
because I love tuning systems, and I love tuning. So I'm actually doing a master class online through KCMS, a little plug through this music school. Or actually, it's in person and online in a couple weeks. So watch out for that if you're interested in tuning.
Really? Yes. That will be, yes, for sure. We are going to put that in the calendar. I'll be the first one to sign up. Excellent. Super. So, I mean, of course, several decades of learning your instrument. And then today you're part of the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra, part of the Okanagan Symphony Orchestra, the Sycamore String Quartet, many things, teaching. There's tons of things. But for that thing, I mean, what would you say, Martin, is the most important skills to become a professional musician? What makes the difference, I say, between an amateur musician and someone who's going to really make that as a career?
Yeah, I was thinking about this question, and aside from the obvious one, which is a certain brand of craziness,
for sure, a big dose of craziness, I would say.
And a few other skills like focus, dedication, perseverance, and all of that. I wanted to mention, those things are fairly obvious, but being regional musicians, both Ashley and I, we're not in big populated centers. For our work, we have to travel between two cities and, mostly, and teach as well. I would say that um, being collaborative, being friendly is so important. Networking, also being like good with administrative skills in our teaching and communication are all really important skills. So those are not what you might think of at first, although, freelancers need to have all those skills anyway. But it's a small world, and I think we are all helping each other. So
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I totally see. I mean, all the entrepreneur hats we need to put on, but of producing concerts, getting to the audience, and so on. And I mean, when I was doing my studies, this was barely touched. It was like you just need to become the best musician ever, and technique and this and that. But I see now a tendency and a change in universities and different programs to try to reach out to different skills we need to have today. And now with technology, I mean, there's so many things that we need to have as that in mind as well. That awareness that you need to be a good musician, but if nobody knows about you, I mean, you're not going to go that far. So for sure, this is super essential. So being versatile, collaborative. I agree 100%, Martin. How, Ashley, do you resonate with this, or is there something you feel that people are, I would say, not realizing from our perspective of how it is to be a musician?
Well, certainly I resonate very much with what Martin said. There are so many human, to even call them skills, it's more of a mindset to really open yourself as a conduit to great music. It's not a skill. It's not even a skill set. It's more of a spiritual quest way to really. I mean, if you're gonna do justice to a Mozart piece or what have you, a great symphonic piece or a simple piano piece by J.S. Bach, there's a kind of a mindset and attitude that's almost prerequisite. One thing that along these lines that comes up for me a lot is the issue of competitiveness with music. And I think you've both touched on it. You're talking about, your university studies, Dina, as well. And yeah, everybody's trying to elbow their way to the front of, we can sometimes call it the pecking order in the orchestra. It's like a bunch of chickens trying to get to the feed trough, the pecking order, or the increasing tendency, I think, for young musicians to want to compete. And Kiwanis Festival used to be a festival. It was a celebration of accomplishment, but it at some point became more of a competition, it seems. And we have stories of students saying, "Yes, I beat him. Yes," like a hockey team or something.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
And we see that at the international level too. The soloist is held on a pedestal and almost worshipped because they're a household name and they've won whatever competition. Whereas, I think we would all agree that what separates art from sports is none of us want art to be competitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yes.
I want to just, my feeling is that actually our culture is becoming more collaborative, and I see less of that, but maybe I'm wrong. I feel that's kind of the old school way of, Kiwanis competitions, and there was that, but maybe because Sandra's my partner and she is so incredibly collaborative.
Oh my God, she is.
And like her students, she fosters this spirit of cooperation in all her students. So they really, help each other along. And there's really not that, they're all motivated to do their best, and actually even more so than if it was this all-out fight. So I would actually disagree with Ashley.
But
on that one.
I think it's changing. I mean, I felt that way in my education, let's say, but like I feel it's changing for the best actually on this. I mean, the competition can be with yourself. Of course, you want to be better, but it looks like we have I hope better ways to get better. And this is coming from good teachers as well. Like good nurturing environment will help in this matter. And both of you have that capacity and capability with your students, so you will be changing our world probably in the next decades, thanks to your talent of teachers. Speaking of maybe highlights in your career, Martin, I was really impressed that after your studies, you were super young and won an audition. And speaking of competitiveness, we still have blind audition, which means that like we need to be super focused and have our best moment, let's say, for that particular day in which you are in competition, yes, to win a position. And in your case, you've been having this wonderful opportunity by winning then a position by interim for Saskatoon Symphony Orchestra. So how was it when they removed, I guess, the curtain and said, you are the one?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. Like I remember walking to the hall and looking at the city, which is so beautiful with river and bridges, and saying, I want to live here. And then winning that audition was just really special. And yeah, it definitely is an incredibly intense process. And it was a wonderful 2 years there, replacing the principal cellist who was on leave for that time. And one of the highlights was playing the Beethoven Triple Concerto. And I was also stage manager at the time for half a year. So I, instead of, you would think after you play this concerto,
wow,
which is really difficult for the cellist, I stayed till after midnight putting away risers, because we were actually playing, we played a couple of concerts, but one was in this university chapel. So we had to set it up, and it was a long thing. And there was another run out to Alberta where I had a budget cargo van with the timpani and everything else that needed transporting. And of course, budget rented us bald tires. And this was in the middle of winter going to Alberta, or the edge of Alberta. So we flew off the road at one point where there was black ice, and were saved by this Good Samaritan guy who said, oh, I've already towed 5 people out of the ditch. And first one was my son. It was just bad conditions, but also bad tires. So it was, that was memorable, not for the music, but yeah.
So memorable experience. And then you can know each time that we have the help of our crew, stage managers, how beneficial and how essential it is to have such a team around, to have everything in place when we arrive and being in great condition. And we are lucky to have actually a super crew at Sagebrush Theatre. I know we have also a picture of you because you never do things that are easy, right? So you're also biking with your cello.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and if you add icebergs on the street, you get an idea of Saskatoon in winter. So I did this in winter too, in Saskatoon, and yeah.
Wow, impressive. You never had any accident, I guess. I hope with this.
I think I was pretty lucky. So no.
Phew. And Ashley, you've been doing several things for sure, but one of the moment I recall is recently, actually, I know that we were finishing the season and you were mentioning that you had a concert you were preparing for a long time, because you were then borrowing some cello repertoire to do a special project. Could you please speak a little bit about what was special about this project?
Yeah, you're referring to the cello suite by Ernst Bloch that I finally recorded in a live performance last June. And at some point, I encountered these cello suites by Ernst Bloch. This was in my early 20s. The foggiest recollection, I guess it was on CBC radio, but I went and bought a CD and I listened to it over and over, and I thought I could learn these pieces on the viola if I could read bass clef or tenor clef as well. So I wrestled with this piece, all three of them, but finally I got the first one to the point where I could perform it reasonably well. And I didn't ever write it out into alto clef, which is what we read on the viola. And I don't know about doing things the hard way, but reading tenor clef when you're almost always reading alto clef. And I mean, there are times for quite a few years, if I was reading tenor or bass clef, I could not, for the life of me, read alto clef. If I played cello music on my viola and then tried to practice regular orchestral music, it was like there was a brain scramble, and it would take sometimes an hour or two before. Anyway, I wrestled with this piece, and it became so dear to me. And I do think the three cello suites by Ernst Bloch are wonderful. And as far as I know, I'm the first violist to have performed or recorded. I'm probably just imagining that, but anyway.
And I had the chance to listen to that concert this summer. A wonderful performance, and we're lucky enough to have an excerpt for our audience tonight. So let's hear a little bit of this wonderful piece. Wonderful. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan is always behind doing all these manipulations so we can see things as we go. Thank you, Ryan. And Martin, you know well those pieces?
Yeah, sort of. I haven't looked at them for I read through them as a student, and I kind of learned them, all three, but never performed them. Yeah. I was more into, anyway, I was more into the Britten suites, which are pretty special and spectacular, and did a concert of those. All three Britten suites, yeah.
Wow. Also quite an accomplishment. This must be so nurturing to do a cycle, a full, getting into in depth into a repertoire that for sure is a transformative experience. Yes.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now let's get a little bit into Kamloops Symphony experience, as you are a musician who are hired everywhere and stunning musicians that people want to work with you in different ways. Each time, for me as a conductor, each time I'm working with an orchestra, I feel there's a different identity, a different kind of, I would say, personality within the orchestra and so on. I would like to ask you, Martin, what do you feel defines the Kamloops Symphony in comparison with other orchestra, or what do you feel is the Kamloops Symphony? Let's see.
That's a really hard question. Well, I want to start by saying I'm incredibly grateful to be part of the Kamloops Symphony. I guess it's 12-ish years now, or yeah. Anyway, and especially since the pandemic, I'm really in awe of what Daniel and you have done. For the orchestra and kept it going.
The musician.
Well, we've all done it, but
yes, it's incredible. Yes.
So yeah, it's really special to come together, and I think it's a really friendly group, and just not. I'm trying to phrase this the right way, but I mentioned that in a big orchestra where you're playing together all the time, maybe you have that kind of level of ensemble, but for us, because we come together, it's a special occasion, and we all kind of rise to, we summon ourselves for that. And people in Kamloops are so supportive,
True.
And
And Ashley, what is your experience with the KSO, or what do you prefer doing, let's say, in between our Masterworks concerts, our educational concerts, the chamber music series, the different initiative? What sparks your interest, let's say, and passion in the KSO?
You know, the Masterworks, we haven't played them so many times that we're tired of them. I could play even Beethoven symphonies. I don't think I would ever get tired of them. The Brahms Serenade that we did a few months ago, just a sublime piece. The Nonette in the same program by Samuel Coleridge Taylor. I personally appreciate your programming quite a bit. I find it a good challenge. You know, we've done the viola, the Peter Vask's Viola Concerto. That's not a piece that gets performed very often. A cutting edge contemporary work like that, not easy listening. Many audiences don't want to hear music like that if they're paying for an expensive ticket. It's too discordant or too abrasive at times, but I do enjoy the challenge of the more contemporary repertoire, and the chamber orchestra, the smaller ensemble pieces that we've been doing more in the past few years. It's tremendous, but in particular, those ones that I've mentioned, as well as quite a few others. You know, we all, it seems we need to do a certain amount of Canadian content to maintain our grant money. I respect that. I've found quite a lot of it. Many of the composers that you know from Quebec and Montreal, it's exciting stuff.
Actually, for me, I never think about the fact of like having a quota of Canadian music, because I'm so much in love with new works that like we even actually put our own, let's say, budget money to commission pieces. And I feel it's our, I guess, responsibility as an orchestra to help emerging artists, emerging composers, as we did, for example, the educational concerts. So yeah. So for the audience that doesn't like contemporary music, sorry, but we're all gonna still maintain this because I feel this is such an important part of our mission and dedication to the music. We don't know who will be the next Mozart, Beethoven, and in 100 years, some of these pieces will be played again, and that's what I'm looking for. Like trying just just the thought that we are creating something that could be that could be heard in decades from now is something super thrilling for me as a music director to create these pieces with all of you. So anyways, I know that this is a particular thing I like to do for sure. The Kamloops Symphony is also having its own teaching school. Martin, you're one of these teachers with your partner as well, Sandra, if she's watching. What is it like to teach at the Kamloops Music School?
Oh, it's great. It's it's a small school. Huh?
Is it busy?
Is it sorry?
Busy?
Is it busy? Yeah, well, it's so teaching's one of those things. It's really as busy as, well, it's up to us to create that, right? So I have learned so much teaching, and I don't consider myself a great teacher at all. And I am constantly, inspired or get ideas from others like Sandra I mentioned. But I have wonderful students and families, and I'm so grateful for that community.
And Ashley, it must be something different. I know you have a daughter. She's playing music. So how is it then she has two parents that are both professional musicians. How is it for her to manage with two parents that are professional musicians?
I think she's going to be a fine teacher.
Yes.
It is the hardest thing whether this is my own child or just a student, to find the balance between making a student practice and, on the other hand, discouraging them, being too critical or too tough. I consider myself very lucky that I didn't quit as a teenager. It was very uncool in the 70s to bring a violin to school. Yet we had a public strings program, and a good one, in our school district, and we stuck with it. But the balancing act between, with my daughter Mirabelle, or our daughter, as you mentioned, my wife Sarah is also a professional violinist and teaches a lot more than I do. So there's a lot of violin teaching, and we make our daughter practice at least 6 days, well, 5 or 6 days a week, and we have for 5 years. And now she's starting to genuinely enjoy it, really. And these were some very difficult struggles. I'm almost groping for words to express the balancing act, because you feel it deep down. This is my gift to pass on to my child. Well, this morning she officially started the first cello suite by J.S. Bach. And she has been wanting to start this piece for years. In fact, Sarah played the first movement, the famous prelude, every day during her pregnancy with Mirabelle on the viola, another piece that we borrow freely from the cello repertoire. And so we have this gift, both Sarah and I, to give to Mirabelle. And only a few months ago did she allow me to practice with her again. I was not allowed to even say, "Hey, that's sounding better. Hey, that's sounding great. Dad, you're getting too involved." So yeah.
So that was the difference.
She's forging a bit of an identity. She's not the most popular kid in school either. It's part of being a Kroecher. But she identifies with music, and she's proud deep down of having persevered. And she's not competing, and she's not a virtuoso at all, but she's a well-rounded young artist. She loves to color and paint and cook and so on as well. It's all part of professional development.
And before going into maybe more of your videos with family, because you've been, we have some of those excerpts with your wife or with your mother, Martin, that we'll be listening shortly. We didn't get the chance to see your instrument or to hear a little bit about why you chose, specifically this instrument. So the viola versus cello battle. Why is your instrument you feel the best in a way? Ashley, why is viola so thrilling to play?
Well, at the risk of stating the obvious, Dina, the viola can do basically everything that the cello and the violin can do.
Would wish to do.
A lot more practical than the cello, and it's a lot more beautiful than the violin, right? So, and we play the unaccompanied partitas and sonatas of J.S. Bach. We play the cello suites of Bach or Bloch or Britten or Buxtehude or whatever you want to. I'm being silly again, but viola. Viola is not the greatest instrument. In all honesty, I have clarinet envy.
Oh, great!
And I envy quite a few other instruments as well. But viola is a difficult instrument. And all jokes aside, of course it's a wonderful instrument, but it is difficult. And really, the main difficulty lies in it's substantially bigger than the violin, and to hold it under the chin and on the shoulder, and it after a while it just And so makers are still experimenting a lot with geometry, and unlike the violin, which was perfected 200 or 300 years ago, and the cello at least 100 years ago, viola is still very experimental. And that in itself is a challenge. And there is not that much inspiring student repertoire for viola. So teenagers, generally, we start them on violin, and they switch maybe at the age of 15.
And you, Martin, what would you say about your love of your cello, or what is your close connection with your instrument then?
Yeah, I do love the cello, and
You wouldn't change.
Well,
Don't.
Sure. Okay. No, I mean there's beauty in all sounds and in all instruments, of course, but the cello is so earthy, and so it's actually a very feminine instrument in that it's grounded. You know, the sound comes from our belly, and I really feel that that's part of the way of playing it is to bring the sound out and to just feel it in our whole body. So it's very much an embodied instrument. And I'm not going to talk about repertoire or anything, or viola stealing our works, or
but for sure, like you mentioned, Martin, that like you would have wished to learn more, or the piano. For me, I would have wished learning a string instrument, because I learned piano then clarinet, but like this connection with a string instrument, my God, like that would have been amazing. But there was not that access at all in my town. There was no musician qualified at all for this. So I feel that it's so great to know that in Kamloops we have all these different instruments that we can find experts, professional musicians that can teach all of these. I find this incredibly valuable. I recall that my first time coming in Kamloops, I was impressed by this. The fact that there's all this talent in this town and people have access to this. This is precious. Even today, it hasn't changed much in my hometown. There's still the same kind of access. You can either play piano or guitar. The rest of it, you might be lucky if you find a violin teacher. So anyways, thanks for all the teaching you're providing then in Kelowna and Kamloops and so on for that. Let's get back to maybe some of the other projects you're doing outside of Kamloops Symphony Orchestra. I know, Ashley, you're playing sometimes with your wife, and we have a little something, let's say, for the birthday of Mozart. We could hear a little excerpt, isn't it? Wow. And what was the excerpt, Ashley, if you can mention?
That was from The Magic Flute by Mozart. That aria is called Komm nur herein, du feines Täubchen. Translates as, come on in, you beautiful dove.
And thanks to Sarah's contribution into this wonderful duet. And then we'll be listening to another duet, Martin, with your mother, Janacek, maybe, shall we? Wow. I love to see the contribution of Elena, of course, to the piano, but Yaroslav, your father is turning the page, so everybody's involved in this. Oh, we're muted.
Yeah, it's a difficult piece. It's in G flat major, our favorite key as musicians, right? Yeah, it's part of a pohádka, and we played a concert of mostly all Czech music. So that was really special, and my mom especially loves Janáček. So yeah, it was our collaboration together, which is really special to be able to do. Yeah.
And other moments that are probably special is, I mean, many special moments that you're having for several years with the Sycamore String Quartet. And we are lucky to have many, I mean, collaboration, let's say, with the Kamloops Symphony once in a while, because all of you are part of the Kamloops Symphony as well. So both of you, as well as Sandra Wilmo, your partner, Martin, as well as Svetozar Vutev, our concertmaster, of course. How is it to play music with colleagues on such a long time?
Do you want to take that one, Ashley?
Well, it's wonderful, you know. What can I say? Svetozar has been, to call him a boon to the cultural scene in Kamloops is an understatement. When he arrived 15 years ago, it was just, it was like suddenly there's a third branch of the Thompson River, a third river flowing into Kamloops.
Wow.
And he is leaving quite a legacy of students, both at the university and at the KSO Music School. And anyway, to play for years with close friends, that's when working and playing are one and the same, you know.
Intertwined.
It's hard work. Of course it's hard work. Martin made us learn a Janáček quartet. It was just about, I think that was when Svetozar had to draw the line at practicing between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. or something. But we performed it, and it was a thrill. It was a real high point. And Annette for many years played second violin, Annette Dominique. And hello, Annette, if you're listening. And just wonderful memories. And it's an honor to play with Martin and Svetozar and Sandra. And I think we're a good mix. And yeah.
And we can hear a little bit of an example with an excerpt from 3 vignettes, the Cameron Wilson. Thanks again, Ryan. Beautiful music. Yes.
Beautiful acoustic too. Kamloops, yeah.
Yes.
Old courthouse.
Right. And let's say, I mean, let's put our point there that it would be fabulous to have actually a new performing arts center, so we could also benefit from a better acoustic for listening to each other on stage, being able to listen to each other, and for our audience to feel also the music in their body. This is something we could feel if we had let's say a good performing arts center for everyone in the community. So I'm just putting that out there. Let's wish we can get this at one point.
Yeah.
Now, as we are almost at the end of our conversation, I wanted to discuss a little bit about your several interests. Martin, we were speaking about great acoustic. You have a great acoustic actually at home, but you have a really special home. You've been going into an incredible challenge, incredible project. I have so much admiration towards this initiative that takes, I mean, a lot of courage, a lot of audacity, I guess, or being audacious to going through this, because I'm sure, like, being in construction for a long time, building your own property must be having ups and downs, I'm assuming, but you've been doing it. So could you discuss why you started with this project in mind?
I'm not sure where to start. So it's been almost 10 years since we bought the property, and it's about 50 minutes from Kamloops, and there was really nothing on it, just roads, and so everything is built and designed from scratch. So I feel so privileged to have this kind of challenge. I think it's one of the most creative thing any human being can do, is just to be able to think out and design all the systems involved in building up a property, whether it's hydrology or energy sources because we're off grid, or where buildings should be, or soil biology, or architecture, and plumbing, and all of that stuff. It's really never ending. So yeah, that's what it looked like. It was a post and beam structure on a floating slab, and we put some radiant floor heating, and then this is filled in. What it looks like, more or less what it looks like now. So yeah, working on the inside, and we'll see when it's ready. And that's, so we've been actually rehearsing here as a quartet as well, so it's
beautiful
special.
Space. And just looking at the landscape through the windows like this, I mean, how can you not be inspired doing music then, when you have all that beautiful scenery in front of your eyes? We actually can hear a little bit of the acoustic because we have another excerpt. What we'll be listening into this excerpt, Martin?
Shostakovich 7th String Quartet, just a little snippet.
Wonderful. So you put the camera on the ceiling or something? How did you do that?
No, it's on the second floor.
Second floor. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So thanks for sharing that. You're also doing, outside of building your home and always learning new things, you're also doing half marathons, nothing less?
Yeah,
running?
Well, I did some competitive running, but maybe 5 years ago or so, I stopped. I got some injuries. I wasn't training enough and stretching, and so I'm kind of impatient that way, but I love to run. For me, it's the most liberating and relaxing thing in the world, is just to run. So yeah, I got some medals in regional races, and that was special. But yeah,
and I'm sure Daniel Mills, our executive director, would agree on this, since he's also running a lot, and you've been actually doing some part of his run challenge together.
Yeah, so when Daniel ran all the city streets in Kamloops, I joined him for one little afternoon at that on the North Shore. So that was really nice.
Excellent. So I need to get to running at one point. Like I'm still trying today, but I never got that line in which it's fun to run. So I'm still wondering if that exists. I will see one day. And Ashley, you're into a lot of outdoor sports and hobbies.
Yes, I love to be outdoors. I almost always feel better when I leave the house, whether it's at 6 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. just the fresh air and the sheer beauty of the Canadian outdoors. Kelowna is where I live, of course. Yeah, everything from skiing quite a bit in the winter, mostly cross country.
And we have a picture, so we could see a little bit of family picture, let's say, outdoor. So you're there with your daughter. And
Yes.
where was that taken?
That's overlooking Lake Okanagan. That's a 15 or 20-minute drive from downtown Kelowna. And yeah, that's actually a place called Goats Peak. There are herds of wild goats as well as eagles. We saw an eagle nest that day with the mother and child. It was hard to tell if she was on eggs or if there were a family of eagles live at close range. Anyway, we love to hike, camping in the summer, cycling. I'm almost always cycling instead of driving almost year round in Kelowna. And we're very lucky to have most cities are not safe to cycle in, but Kelowna is, and I love it here. And yeah, my hobbies, sports. As I said earlier, I don't like competitive sports, but I love hiking and camping and just the inspiration from nature.
And you're all seeing this when it's like -25 in Montreal, and I'm just like hoping that can happen at one point. I cannot. Yes, and each time I'm going to BC, I'm like, wow, this is like, how can you not be into doing anything outdoor? It's so beautiful. There's so many opportunities. It's outstanding. Anyways, I'm looking forward to the next visit, so I can enjoy a little bit even more. Thanks so much, Martin, Ashley. We are already at the end of our conversation, our chat. I see comments. Daniela Ofi was mentioning, thank you for sharing your stories and ideas. We are truly lucky to have such friendly and passionate musicians in our community. Thank you, Daniela. You're part of those musicians in community, so thank you so much. Yes, and actually she'll be on stage on the next concert, so you should be there. We have also Annette, who's been saying, I so enjoy getting to know you both a little better, Ashley and Martin, such wonderful musician and kind gentlemen. Thank you to all of you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, Annette.
Thank you, Annette. Yes. So thanks everyone for watching. And of course, thank you for both of you for sharing so many stories, that those were inspiring stories. And I got the chance to learn a little bit more about you, and it's always a privilege to do so. Next KSO Front Row will be then February 17 at 6 p.m. This time will be with our principal clarinet, Sally, and our principal horn, Sam McNally, so you don't want to miss it. Then it's going to be clarinet versus horn. So we'll see. No, I don't know. There won't be that kind of fight, of course not. But again, two wonderful human beings, wonderful musicians who will be sharing a little bit more about their passion of music and different also interests in life. So thanks, Martin. Thanks,
Thank
Ashley.
you, Dina.
Thank you, Dina.
Great to be part of this. Yeah, great to be part of the KSO. Yeah.
Thanks so much. And thanks, Ryan, of course, and Dania for also helping in all the organization into this. So to the next time.
Stay warm.